Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. We're live here on ESPN Plus. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Craig Burley and Shaka, Hislop. Loads going on today. Liverpool losing their first game of the season. Spurs dropping points at home. And I suppose another defeat for Manchester United will have to be mentioned as well. But we'll kick things off in La Liga. Over their city rivals. Of course, ESPN FC were there in the Spanish capital. Let's get some reaction from our team now.
No hemos entrado bien, no hemos jugado bien ni colectivamente, ni la calidad del juego sin balón, con balón, no hemos estado al nivel que podemos estar y sabíamos, estamos en una fase de construcción. Hoy es la primera derrota, pero esto sigue, tenemos que sacar conclusiones de lo que ha pasado, porque seguro que nos van a poder servir para el futuro, pero no hay excusas. Estamos dolidos, como está la afición, en un derbi, una derrota merecida, que no hemos estado ni con el juego, nos ha faltado una marcha y no duele la derrota.
Well, let's not get away from this basic fact. And I know, obviously, you've seen it. It's on the screen. It's on the scoreboard. It's 5 goals against a team like Real Madrid, who this season, it wasn't just that they weren't conceding goals. They weren't really conceding chances. I'm going to admit this. Ali was talking about being proven wrong. This midweek, I was asked about Real Madrid, and I said I was a bit worried that they were going to be boringly good, that they were going to be good this season in a way that just denied opponents the chance to create any chances, that they weren't going to allow anyone to even really compete with them today. And today we saw the complete opposite. We saw an Athletic Madrid team that went right through them and did it repeatedly, and I thought they were brilliant.
Yeah, they were fantastic, and Ale was so wrong.
Nobody saw this result coming. 5-2 to Atletico Madrid. They were sensational. Real Madrid were awful, and you'd have to say a bit alarming, weren't they, today?
Yes, this was their first major test, wasn't it? We said that. The opposition they've faced already in La Liga are not strong enough to trouble them. They conceded a lot of chances against Marseille at home in the Champions League, and today, I mean, they were just dominated in the central defences. It's back to their old problems of last year. They haven't changed much. Beaten the weaker opposition, and they melted today, and it's a huge wake-up call for Xabi Alonso. Maybe they needed a kick up the backside to sort themselves out, because this type of performance against stronger sides, and they'll come across stronger sides in the Champions League certainly, you know, they will have to improve a lot, because defensively they've brought 3 in the summer, and they've got a lot of the players back who were injured last year, but it hasn't mattered to Jot. They look really, really vulnerable, and they're not going to trouble any of the big teams in Europe if they perform like that, because they were too weak, too disjointed, too open, and you cannot do that for every single game.
Are you saying this is just a blip for Real Madrid, or this is about as good as they are when they're put in with a team that can play a bit, as Atletico did today?
Yeah, they look as if they're not playing as a team. It's very much an individual basis. It's very much, hopefully Kylian will score a worldie, or Vinny Jr. will do something outstanding, which they will do, and they'll get away with it a lot. But I thought they didn't perform as a team today. One team performed really well as a whole, and that was the team that were victorious. And let's be honest, they scored 5, and they missed a good few. The chance where Thibaut Courtois makes a great save from Sorloth. Sorloth, after 2 minutes, he could have got a hat-trick. This could have been more. This could have been really chastening experience for the team in white today.
We've been going under in a lot of games this season, but like I said before the game, you have to keep a clear head. You have to know that the chance is going to come, and I think I saw all around us in the eyes of my teammates that we believed today, and that was good to see.
We saw an Atletico de Madrid that we haven't seen for quite a long time. Atletico de Madrid with personality, with character, to have the ball, to move Real Madrid from one side to the other side, creating opportunity. Last games against Real Madrid, the way that they created opportunities was with those crosses and crosses and crosses. Nico is fantastic in the air, Solo has proven, we've seen it so many times. So you create a lot of problems for Real Madrid, and you dominate it. You have more possession in the most critical situation. So Atletico Madrid did a lot of things different, and all of them they were done it in a style.
Vengo bastante bien con la falta, y también en esa estábamos con Nico y le dije, si querés pegarle por afuera de la barrera, te gusta pegarle. En un momento me dijo sí, después al final me dijo no, pegale vos. Así que nada, terminamos tomando una buena decisión.
No sé cómo hace para patear esos tiros libres, que la pelota se cae y cuando ya sale va para adentro. Me hace acordar un poco a Pantic cuando pateaba esos tiros libres fantásticos en la puerta del área. Y la verdad que es un futbolista que yo lo que le valoro más allá de todo lo que se le ve, es la humildad que tiene. La humildad para correr, la humildad para trabajar, la humildad como campeón del mundo, estar en el Atlético de Madrid, correr todos los partidos, juegue contra quien juegue. Y eso lo tenemos que cuidar, sigo insistiendo. Es un futbolista que el club, nosotros como cuerpo técnico, los compañeros, la gente, lo tenemos que cuidar porque se tiene que quedar muchos años acá y tiene que ser muy importante para la historia del club.
So Real Madrid's first drop points of the season. Barcelona in action tomorrow with a chance to go first. Meanwhile, for Atletico Madrid, that victory lifts them up to fourth in the table after what was a stuttering start to the season. This was absolute men against boys. Atleti were fantastic. Real Madrid was shocking.
Well, we could talk about the defence and all those little pieces there from the guys on site. They did. And for those that saw this game, the first 45 minutes in particular, any cross into the box, and there was a lot of them, Real Madrid were at 6s and 7s. I mean, Huijsen he could not handle Sorloth. Even Militao, with his experience before he went off, he could not handle the ball into the box. So that was a huge worry for them. I think a lot of this is on Alonso as well. And what if you're Mastantuono, right? And I think this tells you a lot about the mindset. Here we have a young man, and he is a young guy, he is inexperienced, but here we have a young man who's looked hot at the start of the season. He's looked on fire, he's looked cocky and comfortable, and he's looked to create things. And you have your first big domestic derby of the season, and he leaves him out. He leaves him out. It's away from home, so you think, well, away from home, maybe he's having a little bit of a panic up. But he brings in a guy in Jude Bellingham that's had, I think Ian Darke said, he's had 21 minutes of football. In what? 2 months? 2.5 months? Going into a derby away from home? He's not ready for that. He's not ready to come into a game of that intensity. And I'm not blaming Jude Bellingham, but you're basically a man down. So when you're a man down in midfield because he's not fit enough, then that puts pressure on the other midfielders. That puts pressure on the back four. And Atleti were excellent in that area. Look, Atletico Madrid, we sat here a couple of weeks ago, or 10 days ago, what's going to happen to them, this big gap. They've had a monumental week because they were losing 2-1 to Vallecano late on, and they dug that one out big time, and they were brilliant today. I mean, I heard Macker in the commentary at 4-2 going, why is he going super defensive? Because they could score 5 and they could score 6, but that is their DNA. And the boys were right. They could have scored 6, 7 or 8 today against this Real Madrid side. So this was the humongous kick in the backside that maybe Xabi Alonso needed for some of his players, but maybe also 1 or 2 of his players looking at Alonso as well and going, okay, so I'm delivering for you, but when the big game comes, you're going back to the so-called tried and trusted, even when they're not fit. So a bad day all round on the field and off the field for Real Madrid.
When Real Madrid were bad last season, they were overrun in midfield. And we saw that yet again today. We saw that in the Marseille game, of course, where they were lucky to get that victory. It's a real concern that Xabi Alonso is looking to address, but you just look at the personnel that he has. Is it a case that he hasn't got the players to be able to do it? Is he not employing them in the right positions? Is this a one-off, or is this a concern?
Listen, without question, he has the players to do it. If you look at the talent of Bellingham, who we spoke about all of last season, Gula, Mastantuono, who's come on and been simply outstanding. Freddy Valverde continues to be one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the game today. So it's not a question of whether they have the players or not. It's Luis Garcia spoke about personality and more directly about Atletico's personality. And I think that's where this game was both won and lost. Real Madrid, for me, their players looked as though, like, this is a Madrid derby and this is not what we were expecting. We expected a far easier time of this. And in fairness, I thought between Huijsen and Carreras on the left-hand side,
Carreras had a shocker.
They were decidedly poor on the day. But again, 2 young players, their first Madrid derby, so you want to cut some slack. On the other side, the right-hand side between Militao and Carvajal, you've got all the experience, all the know-how. And then in midfield, I thought once Real Madrid took the lead, I expected them to be able to control the game a whole lot more. And that's where I thought they lacked personality, probably missed Mastantuono. alongside Arda Güler, just to get control of the ball, to control the game, to take some of the tempo out of it. But there was nobody there to do that. Real Madrid simply were not able to, and it allowed Atleti, feeding off the emotion of their fans, feeding off the emotion of the derby, to just go on and run riot here. And in all honesty, Real Madrid had simply no answer for Soloth and Julian Alvarez. And you have to say that I thought as a performance, it's not what I was expecting, and quite clearly not a game they were expecting.
He's had a lot of praise, Xabi Alonso, thus far. I mean, they've not played brilliantly, but they were pitch perfect until this point in terms of points. Not only do I think his team selection was wrong, particularly with the Bellingham introduction at the start, he then takes Arda Güler off for Mastantuono on 59 minutes. Not Tchouaméni, not Valverde, not Bellingham. Bellingham didn't come off till 70, hasn't played any football. He lasts 70 minutes. Güler comes off, who played the pass, I believe it was him that played the pass for Mbappe, and he scored a brilliant goal. Yes, he gave a penalty away, but you know that doesn't take away from his offensive capabilities. And yet, he takes him off for Mastantuono coming up. That was another one. I was watching the game thinking, why is he coming off? It's almost like he was the easy one to take off. I don't want to take any of those other big experiences. And he's been showing this far, it would seem, Xabi Alonso, that he hasn't been frightened to make big decisions, but it was almost like he would...
Is it easier to make big decisions against games you know you're going to win? Like, it's all right to rest Vinicius Jr. against...
Make a statement against Oviedo.
Exactly.
Make a statement in this game.
Exactly. This is where you really found out as a coach, and at the certainly in this evidence...
because bigger players never like to come off, but they certainly don't like to come off in the big games.
Yes.
The game that everybody's watching. The game that you really need to win. The game where the pressure's on. When you go out for dinner tonight in Madrid and you lose, they're on your case. The punters are on you. These massive games. And maybe that came into his thought process. That being said, though, the back line, we can't get away from the fact that if he'd have got all those other areas correct, it may have been different, but probably wouldn't, because Soloth, his physicality, he could have had a couple more. Alvarez is just...
I was going to say a word on Alvarez. Talk about proper player.
Yeah, tell me where his best position is on the front line. You put him in the right, you put him in the left, you put him through the middle, you put him behind. He's got it all. The only thing he doesn't have is that physicality of the height, but they have others that can do that. And his set pieces are brilliant. His running ability is brilliant. He's technically a very good player, and he's a superb finisher in the final third in terms of he's very efficient. He's very efficient when he's in those areas where it's not a one-on-one, where it's not a guaranteed... it's not an easy chance, it's a difficult chance, and more often than not, he hits the target, makes the goalkeeper make a save. Those kind of players are the quality players, because they're not wasteful, and Julian Alvarez is certainly not a wasteful player.
I thought Atleti on the whole were very good. And let's be honest.
How many saved did Old Black make in the second half?
I can't remember any, to be honest. And the two goals were giveaways. The first was well crafted. Yeah. They get kind of sucked into midfield, and Arda Güler plays a really nice ball around the corner. So give Güler his credit, give Kylian Mbappe his credit for the finish. But from an Atleti perspective, you can't get sucked in like that and leave that kind of room, leave those channels open with Kylian Mbappe on the park. And then the second goal was Lindemann, it was a mistake. And still, you score 5. It quite easy, I think Craig said, it quite easy could have been 3 or 4 more, in all honesty. And I thought that was Atleti, certainly their best this season, but the best that we have seen them for quite some time, against a team who, up until now, were absolutely perfect. Pressed well, pressed effectively, and just outran, had more character, more personality. We come back to that word than Real Madrid.
Just quickly, there's 2 players have come into 2 big clubs from Bournemouth. Nothing against them, good players. Huijsen and Kerkez. And Huijsen's had it relatively easy up to now, but he's just had his first taste. I know he's played for Spain recently, and he's got some international caps, but not in this level of intensity. And he's just got a taste of life outside, playing for a small club in that huge arena in a cauldron. And it was, if we're being honest about it, it was a real struggle for him today. and we've seen the struggle Kerkez has had thus far at Liverpool. There's a big difference playing in a small provincial club and stepping up to the big time, and we're seeing that very early with these two players.
Well, Barcelona would have thoroughly enjoyed what they witnessed at the Metropolitano as the Hansi Flick side have the opportunity then to go top of the table. They're at home against Real Sociedad. Our coverage of that game starts at 12 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+.